it really mean to be emotionally strong? Because it's not what most people think. It's not about, being unaffected. It's not about being invincible. It's about knowing what not to waste your energy on. So it is what emotionally strong people do not do. First one, they don't believe every feeling means something. Emotional strength means being able to feel something and not immediately give it power. Like, not every feeling is truth, not every emotion is a signal you need to act on, and emotionally strong people know you can sit with discomfort without assigning it a story. Second one, they are not threatened by being wrong. Okay, being wrong doesn't make you worthless, it just makes you human. Like, emotionally strong people can admit when they are misinformed, okay? Because their value isn't built on being perfect, it's built on being real. Third one, they don't use logic to dismiss feelings. They don't say, oh, I shouldn't feel this way. They say, I do feel this way. Now, what do I want to do with that? Like, they know emotions don't need to justify themselves to be valid. They need to be heard, then guided. Fourth one, they don't project meaning onto everything. Not everything is about them. They don't interpret every look, post, or silence as personal. They don't live in comparison. They know the world doesn't revolve around them, and that's liberating. Another one, they don't need to prove their power. You won't find emotionally strong people trying to dominate a room. Their strength is quiet, it's calm, it's grounded. True strength doesn't yell, it doesn't need to. Another one, they don't avoid pain just because it's scary. They know avoidance creates more suffering than pain itself. So they face it, they sit with it, they walk through it because they know what's on the other side. Clarity, growth, freedom. Another one, they don't tear people down to build themselves up. They don't point out flaws to mask their own insecurity. They celebrate other people's wins because someone else's light doesn't dim theirs. Another one, they don't complain just to be heard. They know the difference between expressing pain and obsessioning over it. Okay, they speak with intention, not for attention. Another one, they don't catastrophize situations. They don't jump from one setback to everything is doomed. They trust their ability to handle the unknown. That confidence, that's what keeps them grounded when things fall apart. Another one, they don't live by a list of shoulds. They don't waste energy judging what people should or shouldn't do. They know morality isn't black and white, and that trying to control others only leads to disappointment. Another one, they don't act like they have all the answers. They listen more than they lecture. They offer support, not ultimatums. They know advice isn't always about being right, sometimes it's just about being present. Another one, they don't generalize the world from their own pain. They don't assume everyone is selfish or nothing ever works out based on personal experience. They stay curious even when life is hard. They don't become someone else to be accepted. Okay? They know who they are. They show up fully, even if it means being rejected. Because being fake is a deeper kind of rejection. Another one, they don't confuse aggression with strength. They can say no without shouting. They can set boundaries without guilt. Their strength is steady, not forceful. Another one, they don't assume life will always feel like this. Okay, they know nothing is permanent, not the pain, not the joy, and that's what allows them to move forward with hope and resilience. Emotional strength isn't a personality type. It's a choice, and you make over and over again to stop reacting and start responding. And if you are watching this, you already have what it takes. And this was the message of today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And that's it. I see you in the next video. Bye.